Good morning, Bruce Lowery. Thanks for joining us here at Yellow Shelf.
Hello, Joe. Nice to be with you.
Yeah, cheers. Congrats on your new book, Catch the
Thank you.
Wind from the Nullarbor to the Far Northwest in 68. What do we need to know about this new book of yours?
Well, it's an interesting proposition. It took me a long time in gestation period to write the book, some 50 years, but it was always rattling around in the head. And it really centres on 1968, as the title states, where I had a series of unfortunate events and unexpected events that happened, and it caused my then girlfriend and I to have a forced separation for a period of 12 months. So typical of a young bloke at that age, 18 years of age, a knee-jerk reaction. Within an hour of being told this news, I'd made up my mind. I was out of there and heading off to as far away as I could go,
Yeah.
just for the 12 months. And Perth seemed like a fair way away. In fact, it's 3,500 kilometres, so it was probably a good choice if I wanted to get away for some distance.
Yeah, and look, I mean, ultimately, this book is about your adventure. So, do you want to tell us a bit about that? You decide to take this adventure. What and talk about writing the book. What do we need to know?
Well, yes, the certainly the adventure started when having made that knee-jerk reaction decision, I joined up with a mate, and within the very next morning, we were off, $50 between us. So it was going to be hitchhiking. That was the only way we were going to get around. And
Yeah.
we went to some of the most remote parts of Australia. The first place that we got to when the money ran out was just the other side of Adelaide. So we'd left Melbourne, got to Adelaide 3 or 4 days later. No more money, or very little. And so we were informed that the best way to get a job was to go to the Commonwealth Railways, and there's a long railway line that leads from Port Augusta all the way to Kalgoorlie, some 15,000 kilometres. And so 1,500, I'm sorry, 1,500 kilometres. And so we applied for the job, and blow me down, after a very brief and darkly humorous physical examination, which is in the book, we ended up in the middle of the Nullarbor Plain, a
Wow.
place called O'Malley, a six-man fettler camp. A fettler is a person that looks after the railway line, maintains it. And there was no roads, no electricity. It was as remote as it could possibly be, and smack in the middle of the Nullarbor. So 800 kilometres from Port Augusta and about the same distance to Kalgoorlie. And it was quite a ride. We were there for several months,
Yep.
getting some money together, as you can imagine,
Mhm.
working there. And what made it a very interesting place was that the ganger, who was the boss, was a chronic alcoholic and almost certainly certifiably insane. So he led us a merry dance for the couple of months we were there. So it was quite an adventure with my mate Pete and I.
Yep. And look, for anyone globally listening, we're talking like at the middle of Australia. We're talking, right in the red center in the desert. We're talking isolation, aren't we?
Yes, very much so. The
Yeah,
Nullarbor
yeah.
Plain is across the diameter of it, it would be 1,500 kilometres, and so therefore it's a long way from anywhere. There's no trees there. It's all stunted growth, and a very interesting place to find yourself as a young man, particularly under the leadership of someone that was, as I say, almost certainly certified being insane. So we
Yeah.
ended up staying there for say, a couple of months. We then moved on, and we eventually got to Perth,
Yep.
loaded with money because we had nothing to spend our money on in the middle of the Nullarbor. And we arrived in Perth, and of course we were, after a long time being isolated with just male company, we looked
Yeah.
for some females, and of
Oh,
course they
God.
found us, and the money disappeared within days. So
Of course.
Perth's a great time to have good fun in.
Yeah.
So very shortly after that, I joined with another individual by the name of Big Bad Bob. He and I decided to apply for a job up in the northwest coast of Australia near Shark Bay. It's about 800 kilometres north of Perth, and we got a job with a sheep station up there called Yoringa. And Yoringa is 325,000 acres, and it only carries 10,000 sheep in those days. So that's one sheep to every 35 acres.
Wow.
So hardly surprising because just about everything that grew up there had a thorn on it, and it was amazing that any sheep survived at all. But
Wow.
so we looked there. So it was again quite an adventure to a very remote part of Australia
Yeah.
with a good mate. And I think throughout that time, both on the Nullarbor and up on the northwest coast, the thing that kept us going was a good sense of humour, and
Yeah.
that I tried to encapsulate that in the book.
Yeah. And look, I guess that's what I was next going to ask you about. What did it teach you along the way? Like what now upon reflection, what was the journey all about for you?
Well, it was certainly growing up
Yeah.
and toughening up. Um, those remote places, there was a fair bit of harrowing times and moments.
Yeah.
Um, a few fisticuffs, as we
Yeah.
call it in Australia, and stoushes
Yeah.
along the way with various individuals, and so many characters that I met that you just couldn't invent them. They were just very strange individuals at times.
Yeah.
What I learned was to live with those types of people, get by, mature, and it was university of lifetime, I guess, for me,
Yeah.
and it's a time that I'll never forget, and that's why I was so pleased to be able to put it onto into print.
Yeah, and look, congratulations on that. So, Bruce, what have you been doing in those 50 years? Do you want to tell us about Bruce after the adventure? Like what happened to Bruce then?
Well, you can imagine coming back to Melbourne, where eventually I resettled close to Melbourne in the Dandenong Ranges,
Yeah.
about 30 kilometres outside of Melbourne. And I started applying for jobs. I realised I had to get a career started. And just about everybody that I went to an interview for said, what have you been doing for the last 12 months? Don't call us, we'll call you.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I circumnavigated that and found a job with a big multinational company by the name of AGFA, big
Yep.
imaging company, European based. I started as the office boy, and over a period of almost 50 years, I ended up in the position of national sales manager.
Wow.
So that was, yeah, a great career, and I'm just pleased that those people gave me the opportunity to get a fresh start in life after all of those travels. But I have no doubt that the experience that I had throughout those travels helped me in my career throughout
Yeah.
that almost 50 years. And I ended up after I left there, I did some leadership training, some sales training, and happily involved in a whole range of different things of that nature. And I've enjoyed myself. I've been blessed to have a very good career after a rocky but very interesting start.
Yeah. And look, I think knowing about the book, Bruce, I think for me, what made me yeah, feel within the book was, that curiosity you had for that adventure. And yeah, look, couldn't recommend the book enough to the Yellow Shelf subscribers. You've only given us a taster, I know that. So there's lots in between. Bruce, what is the best way to connect with you? I'll put this in the show notes. But yeah, how do we find you? How do we find the book?
Well, you can find me very easily on my website. It's www.brucelowry.com. And there you'll find all the information about myself and about the book, and also where you can buy it. There's the usual places. Any good bookstore will be able to get it in for you, or of course Amazon, Booktopia, all of those. But if you go to my website, all of that is very clearly explained.
Look, Bruce, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing Catch the Wind with us.
Well, thank you, Joe. It's been a privilege, and I've really enjoyed the process. It's been great. Thank you.
Excellent. Cheers, Bruce.
Cheers now. Bye.